Hey, it's Bullock. I'm in hiding. This is episode 3. This is the episode that I always knew was going to test me. This was the one that was going to be hard, and they made me do things that I am just not proud of. There were lens flares. There were bad puns. There was soft rock from the 1970s. It's just, forget it. Go to the theme song. Welcome, everybody, to Series 1, Sentences. Episode 3, Let's Get Technical. As you can see, I have donned my professorial garb because this is the episode where we get into the nuts and the bolts of sentence construction. We'll be talking about many grammar terms and really digging into the things that I, as an English teacher, enjoy. Now, it may not be quite as much fun for you, but it will be fun for me, I assure you. We will begin by talking about the way we categorize sentences. Now, as an English teacher, there are pretty much just 2 ways that I categorize sentences. Other people, linguists, for example, have many other ways to categorize their sentences, but I prefer these 2. That we can categorize sentences by their function and by their type. Was that a lens flare? Did you all just see the lens flare? This is not supposed to be the fun episode. This is supposed to be the boring one where I dress like a teacher and Are you sure? Okay. I have been promised that there will be no more lens flares. So let's go back to that card, please. Thank you. We categorize sentences by function and by type. Was that a star wipe? Look, I dressed for this occasion because it was going to be formal. This was, yeah, I know what my contract says. Fine, I will do that. Fine. Sorry. Let's talk first about the functions of a sentence. There are 4 different functions that a sentence can fulfill. The first function is known as the imperative, and I'm sorry, they're talking in my ear again. No, I'm not gonna. You cannot be serious. Oh, there's a bit of a disagreement. I don't care what it says in your script. In my script, I'm not. Yes. All right then. Apparently, we are going to talk about sentence function by using a song from 1977. This is a song, it's Fleetwood Mac. You may not know it by the title, Don't Stop, but I'm sure that you have heard the song. And apparently, according to some people, within about 30 seconds of the song, you actually get all 4 sentence functions. So, I don't know. Here we go. The imperative. This is I, the speaker, am telling you, the listener, you have to do something. Don't stop thinking about tomorrow. See? Just like that. When Lindsey Buckingham sings, "Don't stop thinking about tomorrow," he is ordering you not to stop thinking about tomorrow. It's the imperative. You must. See, I was all set to talk about like the il faut construction in French, which is the next. Okay, yes. So a little bit later on in the chorus of this song, we get the declarative. A declarative sentence basically just says, this is a thing, or a thing happened. So here's the declarative. Declarative It will be better than before. You know, I mean, it's a future tense declarative, and it's hopelessly optimistic given the way things are going over here. But yeah, okay, fine. So the very next lines, we have exclamatory.
Yesterday's gone. Yesterday's gone.
So, yeah, the exclamatory sentence. Let me say, because apparently, they've got a script, but I want to make sure I stick to mine, that between the declarative, which we just saw, and the exclamatory, there's like a huge difference in frequency. Like 90% of what you write should be declarative. You are talking about things that happen or will happen or did happen or the way things are most of the time. Seriously. And in a formal essay, like for an English class where somebody might want to take some effort, and in a formal essay, you would never use an exclamatory sentence. It's different, of course, if you're writing a short story or a poem or something, a personal essay maybe, where there's, yes, okay, fine, I'm done with that. There is one more sentence type. It's the interrogative. That fulfills the interrogative function. It asks a question. You can recognize interrogate. You know, it's what they do to the bad guys when they get arrested. Oh, yes, I will just play the song now. The interrogative, beginning of the second verse. All right, so there you go. Apparently, everything you need to know about sentence function you can learn from a stupid Fleetwood Mac song and not from your friendly neighborhood English teacher. So I don't even know why I am bothering anymore. This is crazy. All right. I at least have some things I want to say about sentence types. There are 4 types of sentences. And those 4 types of sentences really depend on how many and what kind of clauses the sentences have. So let's take a moment. Can we put up the card about what a clause is, please? There we go. A clause, group of words with a verb and its subject. And it's very important that we put that last part in there because there are lots of other groups of words which we usually call phrases. A phrase is a group of words that acts like one word. You can have a verb phrase, you can have a noun phrase that acts as the subject in a sentence or something like that. But we're going to focus right now on clauses. And that's just a drawing of Wolverine. I mean, it's a John Byrne drawing of Wolverine. So don't get me wrong, I like it, but you're just that's just a bad. Okay, that's a picture of me with my cat. I understand it's claws. Sure. Can we? Okay, that's just Santa Claus. I recognize him, of course, from the Jolly Fat Man with Beards convention, but that's just being a Santa. Thank you. Clauses. Clauses come in 2 flavors. There are what we call main clauses or independent clauses. These are the clauses that make up the heart of the sentence. What? I have to tell them about the 2. Sorry. Main clauses or independent clauses. I prefer the term independent clause because it really helps to establish the fact that an independent clause can stand on its own. If you think back a few episodes to our definition of what a sentence is, where a sentence is a complete thought in context, an independent clause is always a complete thought. It may or may not be in the right context. You could say the wrong thing at the wrong time. Yeah, I'm getting there, okay? This is just not going the way that I was expecting. There's also the subordinate clause is my preferred term for it. Some people call it a dependent clause because it's the opposite of the independent clause. A subordinate clause still has a verb and its subject, but it can't stand. Will you stop telling? What? Okay, this is just ridiculous. They want me to go to. Yes. Okay, fine. Yeah, we're going to do it, I guess. I guess we're going to do it. We're going to go out. Yeah, fine. Sorry, this is really getting ridiculous. They finally let me go on a location shoot to the park on a beautiful day, and they have me stealing toys from children. Although I will admit this is a train, and children don't need train toys. I mean, nobody's going to grow up to be an engineer anymore. They're all going to be driven by robots. I mean, there may be a future in the life of being a hobo. I don't know. It seems kind of wrong anyway. But so here, I think this will make my point about independent and subordinate clauses. Because you have two things that are very much alike. They're both green. They both have wheels. There are similar markings, obviously meant to be together. But you take this one and set it down, and you've got the engine. Now, this is obviously not a real train engine, but imagine that it were, and we put it on a real train track, filled it with real train fuel, I don't know, diesel, the tears of children who've had their toys stolen at the park, I don't know. You put it down and it'll go. It is completely independent. It needs nothing else in order to work properly. That's an independent clause. This guy, on the other hand, you put it down on a track and you got nothing. It's not going to go anywhere. It still has a lot of the same parts that our independent clause does. It's got a verb and a subject, but by itself, it can't do anything. On the other hand, you hitch them together with a nice subordinating conjunction like because or after or when, and now you've got something greater than either one of these two apart. You have the independent clause that can drive the train, but you have the subordinate clause that adds some other important information. That's the way clauses are supposed to work. You've got some that are independent and don't need any help. You've got some that are dependent or subordinate that do need help. And when you put them together, they're kind of like magic. Now, if you'll excuse me, there's a crying girl over there and a very upset mother that I have to apologize to. Sorry, it's really demoralizing. You think you've got a whole thing planned, you think it's going to go one way, and then it just doesn't. Anyway, independent clauses, subordinate clauses. So we can talk about 4 types of sentences based on how many and what kind of clauses they have. The very next episode of this series is going to be about simple sentences. A simple sentence is made up of one independent clause. That's it. There's nothing else. There's no little car attached to the engine in a simple sentence. Now, if you've got 2 independent clauses together in one sentence, or more, could be 3, could be 4, I don't know, the way this thing is going, it could be a bajillion. I'd like to believe that there are some limits, but apparently there are none. 2 or more independent clauses in one sentence is what we call a compound sentence. And that makes a lot of sense, right? You have one thing and you compound it with another. Now, if you throw in a subordinate clause with your independent clause, we call that a complex sentence. Sort of the opposite then of simple, right? So a complex sentence has one independent clause and then one or more subordinate clauses. And then finally, we have what we call the compound complex sentence, where there are 2 or more independent clauses. That's the compound part. And then the complex part is that there are 1 or more subordinate clauses. Now, as I've been talking, theoretically, they're going to come back in post and they're going to put some examples of those sentences underneath. You know, the good things, they don't actually let me see on the monitor. They just show me the stupid lens flares and that you promised no more lens flares. I'm sorry. It's been a rough day. So episode 4, we're going to talk about simple sentences. Episode 5, we're going to talk about compound sentences. I hope this review has at least given you some sense of the vocabulary and you'll be able to understand it when I see you for the next one. I think we are ready. Gravitas. Gravitas. Gravitas.